Major support for Out to Lunch Acadiana is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base, joneswalker.com, and by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including Lafayette and Lake Charles, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank, banking with greater momentum at b1bank.com. Support also comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette.
From Cafe Vermilionville in Lafayette, we're out to lunch with Professor of Finance and Director of the award-winning Birken Road Reports, Peter Raschuti. It's business, Acadiana style.
Hi, I'm Peter Raschuti. Welcome to Out to Lunch. When you travel around Acadiana, it's amazing how many talented people live in this part of the world. You can stop in almost any small town and find a handful of people living there who are doing something sensational. Take, for example, Eunice. After being born and raised in Eunice, Michelle Fleur McFayden went to college for electrical engineering and, get this, got a job with NASA. From 1988 to 1998, Michelle was Space Shuttle Flight Coordinator at NASA's Mission Control. Now, that's one job you can't bring home to Acadiana, so when Michelle and her husband, NASA co-worker J.P., decided to move back to Cajun country, they had to find something else to do. And that's when Michelle and J.P. discovered the Great Harvest Bread Company and opened a bakery on Kaliste Saloom in Lafayette. Neither Michelle or J.P. had baked bread before, but hey, it's not rocket science, right? Michelle Fleur McFayden, welcome out to lunch.
Thank you.
It is so good to have you. Now, Lori Walls comes from one of the most familiar families to folks in Eunice, the Johnsons. Lori's grandfather opened Johnson's Grocery in Eunice back in 1939. Back then, Johnson's was the first place in Acadiana to commercially sell Boudin. In 2005, after 68 continuous years, the family business closed down in Eunice. Meanwhile, Lori was working for an optometrist in Lafayette. In her off hours, she was smoking meats and making Boudin at home. In 2008, Lori and her husband Greg opened the second generation of the family grocery, including an 80-seat restaurant in Lafayette. They called it Johnson's Boucaniere. Today, Johnson's in Lafayette is already approaching institution status in Lafayette, like its predecessor, Johnson's in Eunice. Lori Walls, welcomed out to lunch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Michelle, I'm going to start with you. Great Harvest Bread Bakery seems to have a fairly unique business model. It's a franchise, but unlike other food franchises that work on the exact replication of everything in every outlet, you operate what Great Harvest calls a freedom franchise, which seems to mean you can do pretty much whatever you want, from grinding your own wheat to baking bread from scratch. How does Great Harvest control and regulate a franchise network like this? And from your side, why do you need to pay into a franchise if you're all that self-sufficient? What do you think?
It is. It's a unique situation, and we fell in love with the product first. In Colorado, we went to Great Harvest, never knew it was a franchise.
Now
it doesn't look that way.
You lived out there for a while.
We lived out there for about 6 years, and we're loyal customers there, mainly because they have whole grain bread, healthy bread, not a lot of ingredients, real simple. And what's really, once we started looking into it, what's really great about it is you can have your own theme, your own concentrations. For example, we do king cakes.
Yes, that wouldn't be done
Another
in Colorado.
Great Harvest would not really know what that is. But the reason it works for us, it was like, any small business, when you jump off the cliff to own your own business, it wasn't as high a cliff, knowing that we had 30 years of experience behind the name. There aren't many. There's only one other in Louisiana right now, so it's new to this area, and we've been there for 12 years. We've had our store, but what's great is I don't have to concentrate on what an ad might need to look like,
I see.
or what the logo should be. All that was done, and it's almost like they're a consultant for us. We get to concentrate on day-to-day operations, the people coming in the store, the projects we want to do with maybe nonprofits, and those basic, aspects of business are sort of taken care of.
And how
we
did that
don't
work,
have
by
to
the way? Did you go out and pitch them to say, I want to open it in Lafayette?
They take applications, not that many a year open. It's a small, there are only 200 across the U.S. That's small in franchise, the franchise world. And so it fit perfectly with us. Freedom is what we wanted. We wanted to be able to look at our customers and hand them what we made that day, rather than working for a large corporation, as our earlier.
Do you ever get to use your old skills, like the bread's coming out of the oven, it's like T-4, it's going to be ready, something like that?
That's funny. No, but every once in a while, when I'm on the counter shift, I'll say, JP, I'm on console today, and he's like, Michelle, it's not console, it's counter, and I'm like, oh God. Or I'll say, copy that when someone says we ran out of something, and they're like, do what?
You talking military time? That would be the other thing. Now, Lori, you worked in the family grocery as a kid, and your dad was the last member of the family to run the Eunice store. There's a big difference between working in a grocery store and running it, to say nothing of the added challenge of running a restaurant. When you opened Johnson's Boucaniere in Lafayette, what did your dad warn you about? Did he take his side?
You know, he is a very laid-back type of person. So I wouldn't say he really gave me much to, worry about. He's very supportive.
And he's in there now, right?
Oh,
he's like
he definitely.
the greeter.
Yes, he
so
takes
cool.
everyone's order. It's all the lunch orders and sandwich orders are handwritten. So he's there taking down the orders, and he helps us with pricing the Boudin sausages and things that we package, and just a wealth of information. He's quality control,
Now, some people, you must get folks from out of town, maybe out of the country, that actually don't know a lot of the items on your menu, right?
Right, absolutely. They're not sure what Boudin is.
Does Dad straighten them out on that?
Oh yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely. He's very happy to give them a little sample and give them a little tutorial on the ways to eat Boudin and how to prepare it.
One of the coolest things about today is the fact that you two are like childhood friends, right?
Right.
Yes. We both grew up in Eunice, and I have many good memories of Johnson's grocery store. You know what's unique about their store back in Eunice is they deliver. So we would order groceries. It's the one person that could knock on the door, and you would sit and watch TV, and he would just walk right in and put the groceries right there on the kitchen table. And no worries back
Boudin
then.
delivery. Yes.
Absolutely.
Waiter Uber Eats doesn't know this. This is terrific. They.
Funny story about Johnson's is I'd go out with some of Lori's older cousins, and time to go home, 2 a.m. We'd drop her off at the store, and she was in 2 a.m. for making Boudin for the next morning. No sleep there.
Yeah. Now this gig you've done for yourself is a lot of work.
It is. It definitely is.
It's one of those things where if I went in or went out to eat, I wouldn't kind of get it, but there's a lot behind it.
Absolutely.
So, like, when are you making all these meats and things?
Well, I have a great crew that helps. I mean, my staff is wonderful. So we delegate, the different preparations to different staff members.
But there must have been, your dad had a grocery. You've got this combination restaurant. What was some of the hurdles you faced before you could open a restaurant? Seems to be a lot of...
Well, I got a lot of help from my dad and just advice from him on what to do, but also went to the Small Business Development Center at UL, and my husband had his own business, so he was invaluable in helping, with...
Now, more and more people tell us about this program at UL.
Yes, it was a huge help.
A couple of people said it kind of gave them the confidence to go forward. And,
exactly.
Do you still... Are they still available for you to talk to?
I believe they are. I hope they are, because I tell so many people who are thinking of opening up a business, like, go to the Small Business Development Center.
Yeah, that is great. Now, you have this franchise that's kind of loosely formed. You mentioned like you have King Cake, and they don't have King Cake. When you bring in a new product like King Cake, do you have to run it by headquarters? Or?
You don't actually. There's some good standard 30-year recipes that almost all of us use, the good honey whole wheat. And so we use a lot of those basic recipes. And it's more like a sharing environment. We have an internet, secret, a private internet between owners. So we can say, hey, this is working great in our store. You guys should try this. We've actually taught many bakeries how to do king cakes. So every once in a while, some local, some LSU, UL people will track down their great harvest and be able to get king cakes at their store in, New York or Anchorage or anyway. But we don't have to pass that across the franchise, but they do tend to share things that are winners. So
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. King cake season is wonderful for bakeries. It's an extra season for us after the holidays. So
Jeez, and,
we love it.
In other cities, they would be surprised to find a plastic baby inside their food. I think
we have to explain that one. I know.
Now, who do you think your competition is? Because I've asked this once to a guy that ran flower shops, and he mentioned other flower shops, but also the supermarkets. Is that kind of how you feel?
Definitely the grocery store, because it's really easy to just go through that bread aisle. So I camp out at the bread aisle, and I just call people out. No, I'm joking. No.
That would be good.
But it's a second stop. I'm a mom with 4 kids. I know what it means to have to stop somewhere extra, to get bread. So we try to make it worthwhile. We offer we offer lunch and other things besides bread, sweets, and a variety of breads. So we hope that it's worth the stop for people to come in.
Do you get is it the kind of person who's more into natural food would go to yours?
You know what? We get the gamut. We have a lot of salespeople that come in the morning for sweets.
Oh, to bring to their clients?
Yeah, to bring to their clients. We have, we do lots of gift baskets during the holidays. But there's definitely the older crowd is the more healthy, wise, people that are looking for the whole grains. And then somebody just wants to splurge. Right before hurricanes, we get the people who need their comfort food, and they come in.
I bet that's true.
And then the lunch crowd is a totally different crowd than buying bread. I mean, businessmen or moms that are about to pick up their kids will come in to have tea or coffee. We have a full coffee bar, espresso. So there are a lot of aspects of the store, so we get a lot of different types in. It's fun.
Now, Laura, I have to ask you, you opted not to reopen or start your own place over in Eunice. You decided to be in Lafayette. What was behind that?
Well, I was living here in Lafayette, had a family here, and just realized that I would need to do it here. I was homeschooling my kids.
Okay.
And so just Lafayette is our home, and we decided to bring a little bit of the prairie, Cajun culture to Lafayette.
And you have a bigger market than Lafayette's
absolutely.
A significantly larger town.
Absolutely.
And then you're on the outskirts of downtown, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now the fact that downtown seems to be on the verge of taking off. This has got to be good for you, right?
Yeah, that's really very good. We've always loved downtown, but now that there are so many new opportunities showing up there, it's really a plus.
So these other businesses actually create traffic that's eventually going to help you out? You think, is that how we should think of it?
Yeah, and all of, as far as I have been able to see, all of the downtown restaurants really help to support each other. There's not like this cutthroat competition.
Yeah, that's what I'd be...
Everyone is happy to have more choices and more just comrade in arms, I guess you would say.
I think that is kind of a South Louisiana thing, because in other parts of the country, I think they do go, there's a lot of competition between the people in the same industry.
And I think that's evolved, because even the chefs that stand out in Lafayette, they've started doing things together, and I think they realized, collaboration gets you a lot further than competition. And, competition's good, but that collaboration, it's the relationships that you build. You have new customers that way, and everybody can help everybody. I'm very glad she's in Lafayette, because I wouldn't have any other Boudin. So we love having Johnson's here.
Yeah. Now, is that contested that your dad was the first, I guess, purveyor of Boudin? I guess this.
No one has ever really contested that.
I think
started
that's so
in the
great.
40s, and I think up until that point, other families made Boudin as part of a boucherie. In fact, my dad tells me that my grandfather, the first Boudin that they sold was actually leftover Boudin from some other neighbors' boucherie. And so at first he wasn't making it. It was actually bought from a friend. And then they started to develop their own recipe and started making it at the store.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Peter Raschuti. My guests are childhood friends from Eunice, who both now have retail food businesses in Lafayette. Lori Walls is the co-owner with her husband of Johnson's Boucaniere, and Michelle Fleur McFayden is the co-owner with her husband of Great Harvest Bread. Now, I would think in both of your businesses, you might have, do you both have to like get in really early?
At the beginning, we did, yeah. I mean, I have good people that will do that. I mean, as a retailer and bakery owner, you're always, especially my husband, is always on call. If someone doesn't show up, then it's him running to the store.
So there is a group that shows up at like 5 in the morning?
3:30. Yeah.
What about yourself?
Well, for us, my husband starts the roasts and everything that smoke. They smoke around 12 hours, so it's a long process. So he starts them around 3:30, 3:45, and then I get there usually every day around 6 to start the breakfast prep. We have breakfast and lunch that we offer, so I'll start prepping around 6, and then, we just... And there are many times where his office is actually right across the parking lot from where the restaurant is. So he'll work on his design and architecture drawings, and then I'll have to call him every once in a while. And, hey, come and help! Come on!
Now you had your dad to help you on the business side, but what about Michelle? You came. That NASA bread connection is not something you hear about all the time.
Yeah, it's a little hard. We say we're fermentation engineers now instead of electrical. Yeah, my mother-in-law was an awesome baker, and she, J.P., my husband, has used some of her recipes for the holidays, and but what we've always heard was when you own a small business, it's mainly keeping the business afloat and thriving is the hardest part rather than the product that you're actually
So now that
serving.
part you didn't come with a lot of background.
So my husband had an MBA. By the time he was going to night school while at NASA, so he felt really confident about the business plan and working those early, proposals, and that came pretty easy. So he felt like I can run my own business, but what that would be and how that got determined, it's just the way it was, I guess.
Well, an MBA and an MBA husband and a dad. This is these both work pretty well.
Come in handy.
Now, Lori, Michelle, it's time for the part of the show we like to call your brother-in-law. You're finally wrapping up a long day of work when your phone rings. It's your brother-in-law. Normally, he only calls when he wants to pick up leftover food from your store for his monthly Thursday night poker game. But this time, the conversation's a little different. Michelle, your brother-in-law says he was coming to your place from across town this morning, and it took him about 45 minutes in traffic. He's prepared to tough it out because he's your brother-in-law, but most people from this side of town just aren't coming over to you. It's time you open a second branch. Your brother-in-law's prepared to quit his job at the rice mill and run it for you. What do you say?
Well, I love my brother-in-law, but not that much. Opening another store is like having another child, and it's a lot of work, and we've considered it many times. And going through all of those implications of what does this mean for our life, it's like, no, that's okay. We're happy where we are.
So that's interesting. I was thinking, you'd be doing a lot of numbers about what a new store would look like, but you're smart enough to look at what would it do to our lives.
Yes. Having 4 children, my baby's still 11 years old, so we're still in the thick of things. And
I'm thinking future employees. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and they do work on the weekends, but
You're happy.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yes. Why?
Yeah.
Why break all that up? Because, now, Lori, your brother-in-law says he's got a great idea for making you and Greg at least another 50% on top of what you're making now at Johnson's Boucaniere. It's simple. Don't close at 3 p.m. Stay open until 7. You don't even have to work it. Your brother-in-law says he's prepared to quit his job and take over every day from 3 to 7. He's prepared to split everything he makes on this shift 70-30 with you. What do you say?
We were open later on weekends for a while and then decided to just go ahead and close at 3. Because I think my philosophy is if I'm not willing to do it myself, to stay open that late and be there on, I'm just not going to do it. It's a similar philosophy to what
That's right. So
Michelle
you could have
feels.
other folks, but you feel like you have to, you've got to be willing to do that yourself.
I do, yeah.
And what about the question that Michelle answered so well about looking at it from a numbers point of view versus a happiness point of view?
Yeah, I totally agree with what she said. You have to think about your family, and that was behind the decision to close at 3 also, thinking about family time and being able to separate yourself from the business. It can really take over. It can take over your life.
It's funny, you talk to so many people that, don't look at both sides of the equation, and that a lot of them end up, kind of regretting it. So
yeah, it doesn't hit you till the business is up and going, and then you've prepared for that day of opening, but you don't really know how to prepare for when it's going and it won't stop, right? So, yeah, it's.
And I like Michelle's example about like having a second child. It's like people always say it'll be less work. It's like they're assuming the first kid is going to raise the second. I don't know. That's not what I found in my work, actually.
I am really lucky in that my kids work with me. My husband helps out. I mean, my sister comes in and helps. So I have a lot of wonderful help. But down, on the other side of it, I think. But I want to be able to do it also. And be there to help as well.
Plus, Lori, you were homeschooling the kids, so I mean,
Yes.
It wasn't as if they were on a bus somewhere and you had this free time.
Right.
How did that work out better for you, or was it tougher?
I have to tell you, I thought I could handle it better than I did. Really, we only, for about 3 or 4 months, homeschooled. We opened in April, and then the school year ended in May, and then we realized that this was probably a little more than what we could do.
Yeah.
So the kids did go to a traditional school after that. But
Because when I was reading your background, I
handled
didn't know
it
how
really
you-
well. Michelle homeschools.
Oh, you
still.
did?
Yes.
All 4?
Yeah, I'm still in the middle of that. So Lori's in her store, like she said, at 6. I don't go into the store usually till the afternoon. So my husband and I almost kind of have shifts, and in 12 years old, the bakery, we have lots of good people. So, but yeah, that's why, my kids are in the store sometimes. We're like, okay, this is the math lesson today. Mm-hmm. Count how many bags of bread you need to bag today. No.
And they really are learning a lot too, being there.
Running a small business, yeah.
Having been at the grocery store when I was younger and just seeing all that went into it, you really learn a lot by just being around the business too, even at a young age. It's not just what everyone's telling you.
Oh, yeah.
You really kind of
Made up your own
it.
SAT questions, Bob leaves Cleveland driving 45 miles an hour with a truck of bread. There's And I have to ask you, because you're both from Eunice, how are things in Eunice these days?
What's funny is my parents get here, just like your dad, right, get here more than I go over there because
right.
there's more pulling them here, like doctor's appointments and stuff. But I have been there a couple of weeks ago, and things are going well. There's always, a new fast food joint open or
Right.
something new. All my relatives and folks are doing good out there, and I think,
You're not upset that you became a city girl?
Oh, that happened such a long time ago.
They can't still hold that against you.
Yeah. Lafayette's close enough, though. That for those guys that live, Lafayette being the hub city, for all those folks that live like Eunice, Crowley, it's just not even a thought to come to Lafayette and back. It's a quick errand. So.
When I asked about Eunice, I think I have to follow up by asking the downturn in the oil industry here in Lafayette. Do you feel it?
I've noticed it a bit, but we're still doing fine. So I don't think it's affected us tremendously, but there was a slowdown, I'd say, especially over the summer.
It's the same for us too, because like I said, those salesmen, a lot of those salesmen were oil guys. What you don't realize is that you don't realize the dependency on them until they're gone, and then it's like, wow. We've making all these sweets, and there aren't any more sales guys coming in. What's up? So it's definitely affected us.
I think with lower oil prices, you'd need to bring more donuts. That's I don't know. We'll do a study later and see how that works out. Acadiana is famous for its food, but even the food that we regard as traditional today had to have its start sometime, somewhere, and these dishes didn't just drop in from heaven. Somebody had to create them. Lori, your grandfather pioneered the sale of Boudin and Eunice, and today you're carrying on the family and Acadiana's traditions at Johnson's Boucaniere in Lafayette. Michelle, you and your family are creating a new generation of food traditions at Great Harvest. It's been great to meet both of you, and I look forward to keeping up with you in the future. So thank you, Lori and Michelle, for taking the time to join me today on Out to Lunch.
Thank you for having me.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. My guests on Out to Lunch today have been Lori Walls, she's the co-owner of Johnson's Boucaniere, and Michelle Fleur McFayden, the co-owner of the Great Harvest Bread Company. You can find out more about Lori's meats and Michelle's baked goods by following the links on our websites, krvs.org and itsacadiana.com. Today's show is recorded live over lunch at Cafe Vermilionville in Lafayette. Cafe V is open Monday through Friday, 6 nights a week for dinner, with a courtyard that sets the scene for fine Louisiana cuisine. The producer of our show is Grant Morris, our technical producer is Eric Merle, and our researcher is Ann Christian. Our theme song, Encore Monsieur Nice Guy, is written by Mitch Foreman and performed by Mitch Foreman and Andre Michaud. Our Acadiana business consultants are Pete Prados from Innovate Acadiana, Zach Barker from The Opportunity Machine, and Dr. Blake Escaday. If you want to know what we look like, you can find photos from this show on our website and Facebook page. The photos were taken today by Gwen Aucoin. You can get the show as a podcast. You can listen to past shows. You can keep up with us on all kinds of social media by going to our websites, itsacadiana.com and krvs.org. Support for Out to Lunch Acadiana comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette, located off Pinhook near Kaliste Saloom. Wyndham Garden Lafayette is pet and family friendly with free parking, free Wi-Fi, and meeting and event spaces for weddings, reunions, and all occasions. Additional support comes from ABiz Magazine and AcadianaBusiness.com, the essential information source for business decision makers throughout the one Acadiana region. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsacadiana.com and KRVS 88.7 FM. I'm Peter Raschuti. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the table here at Cafe Vermilionville for more business, Acadiana style, on Out to Lunch.
Major support for Out to Lunch Acadiana is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker. Established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including Lafayette and Lake Charles, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank, banking with greater momentum at b1bank.com. Support also comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette.